Hi there, this is Steve Spurrier. You can join University of Florida Hall of Famer Shane Matthews and also the two-time SEC Player of the Year every weekday as he brings you all you need to know about the Florida Gators, including news, analysis, opinions, and some of the biggest names in sports. You can find him on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. Or you can watch him live at 8 a.m. on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter.
Good morning. Welcome to a Friday edition of the program. We made it to Friday. It's Pod Up with Matthews in the morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. We got JC, then we'll have Blake Alderman for 24/7 Sports, talk a little Gator recruiting, see what's going on with the mighty Gator football program. If you missed it, volleyball season ends yesterday afternoon. They lose in 4 sets, 3-1 to the Pitt Panthers. So another great year for Mary Wise, but doesn't get a chance to play for a national title. Somehow the Raiders lost last night. Baker Mayfield leads a comeback for the Rams. I didn't see any of it. Other than that, there ain't a whole lot going on in the world of sports, but we're going to go to the Titan MR hotline. We're joined by JC, who has his Rams gear on. You love Baker Mayfield now, huh?
I do. I'm such a Baker fan, man. Number 17 on your schedule.
That's a terrible number, by the way.
Yeah, well, Phillip Rivers.
But Doug Williams.
Doug Williams sure was. Listen, 98 yards, no timeouts. The guy literally had been there for 10 minutes. Coming on a short week. I don't know how they were able to pull that off, but give them some credit. Aaron Donald didn't play. They are a team that lost 6 games in a row. What are they playing? The place was packed. My son Sam was actually at the game, sitting in my seats, and saw a tremendous 98-yard game-winning drive to Van Jefferson, the former Gator, who caught the 23-yard pass in the corner on just a little corner out there, and ball went right over the defender's head, and Van Jefferson pulled it in. Van Jefferson's had a rough season too, so it's good to see him get in there. And Baker's going crazy. The locker room went nuts. And they're going nowhere this year, but by God, they pulled out a good game against those Vegas Raiders, which is where you're at right there in front of Bally's. You're also in front of Paris. You're in front of the big wheel there at Caesar's Palace, and that's the Bellagio pool right over your right shoulder. The Bellagio is an MGM property. It's a great spot to be where you are right there, baby.
Yep. Andy asked, do I think Baker Mayfield's career could be resurrected? I mean, he could. I mean, it's one game. We'll see. I mean, Baker's talented. He's had some issues here and there, but
maybe LA's a good place for him. LA could be a good place for him.
Daniel says, JC, you are a fan of every team. You are always wearing a different team gear.
Well,
JC keeps fanatics in business.
Those who know me best know that my 4 favorites are always going to be my 4 favorites, but I just like other teams' colors and logos and jerseys. And I don't know. I guess I'm just a goofy little sports fan and stuck in North Central Florida watching
doing a goofy podcast.
Playing on a
all right, so JC, we're gonna do our Peachland Dental picks here shortly, but we're also gonna have in the second portion today, we're gonna have Blake Alderman for 24/7 for all our recruiting people can ask all these questions. I saw this on Twitter yesterday.
Okay.
I had a screenshot.
Because I got a question for you too, but go ahead.
All right, so this dude, let me pull it up. My texts are blowing up here on the Titan MR text line.
All right, that's
this guy. He's a 5-star wide receiver. I don't know where he's from, but his name is Jurion Dickey. Okay, he says that he will pick and choose what school he goes to between Tennessee, Oregon, and Penn State based on which school's fans buy his digital trading cards the most.
Like he's in the entrepreneurial program, feeder program.
So I guess he has a timetable set that I don't know how digital trading cards work, and I don't know how much they cost. But if you're a Tennessee, Oregon, or a Penn State fan, you want this kid, you better go buy his football card. I mean, think about how crazy that is.
That is crazy. Hopefully, he can play.
Well, he's a 5-star wideout, so
I mean
that doesn't mean much.
How excited were you to see this DJ Lagway fella pull out the Florida hat? I mean, did you watch that? It was like, oh my goodness. Was that a surprise? Does anybody care? I mean, is it?
No, I mean, it was a huge deal. Nobody's surprised. Everybody thought he was going to come here, but I'm going to ask Blake this because I asked another recruiting guy
Yeah, I want to hear what he said.
who thought he was better, Rashada or Lagway. He said Lagway. It's not even close.
Oh,
so Rashada's going to be here in January. Lagway comes next January.
Right.
They both ain't going to stay here. You can go ahead and book that.
Yeah, I mean, this guy Lagway's still a year away, right?
Yeah, he's only a junior in high school.
Yeah. So a lot of, I guess what I'm saying is there's a lot of pomp and circumstance for something that's still far out into the future, and so many things change in such a short period of time like that. This whole exercise just seemed to be kind of, I don't want to say it was disingenuous, but how is it taken seriously when there's still so much time left between now and then? The Rashada kid is the one I guess you want to pay attention to right now.
Yeah, and then we'll still hopes of getting a quarterback out of the portal for next year.
Yeah.
Chris on the Titan More text line, Chris from Mayaca says he ran across this article on NBC Sports. Apparently, we are ranked number 6 among all NCAA fan bases. So he sent me this list, and it says here are the 16 college football teams with the biggest estimated fan bases per Baltimore, whatever that is. Who would you think the number 1 fan base in America is, JC?
Well, I would think the number 1 fan base would be just based on numbers, right? So numbers, I would say it would be either Ohio State or I don't think it would be Alabama, but I think it'd be Ohio State or Michigan, Notre Dame, maybe. I don't know. What's the answer? Uh-oh. Are you there?
We had a little internet connection here. Are we there? Because I can see myself and hear myself.
I got you back.
It's like 8:06 every day. Something goes on. All right.
Yeah.
Go,
Did
JC.
you hear my answer? Did you hear my answer?
Well, I don't know what's going on. Don't know what's going on. JC, are you there?
I'm here.
If not, okay. So here
I am.
There?
Yeah,
okay.
Here I am, boss.
All right, so we don't want to bad TV going on here.
Did you hear my answer? Did you hear my answer?
You said Ohio State, and I don't know who else you said.
I said Notre Dame.
Okay. Ohio State is 1 with 11.2 million.
That's
Notre Dame 8.2 million.
I was right. Look at that.
Then you got Texas, Penn State, Michigan. Florida is the first SEC team at number 6, which surprised me.
It's just a numbers thing.
Alabama with 5.3 million. So anyway,
alumni.
Quite interesting.
It's alumni based, and it's numbers, and that's why the Big Ten up north has the bigger numbers because the schools are larger.
Yeah, Mike says on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mel Law, besides QB isn't tight end a huge need in the portal. Everything's a huge need.
Yeah.
If they find somebody that's going to help them, they will try to get them. Remember, there are 131 other Division I schools looking for players too.
That's right.
Daniel says, is Florida really interested in the QB from Oklahoma State? Seems like he's thrown a lot of it. He's not. They're not. It's amazing to me. I get on Twitter.
Yeah.
And I mean, literally, I could come out and say, I could make up something that the Gators are going after Deion Sanders' kid.
Yeah.
And people would believe it.
Yeah.
They believe everything they read on.
A lot of folks like to sit around these chat rooms and waste their time.
That's not a chat room, JC. It's Twitter.
Well,
you're on Twitter? Don't act like you don't. You're not.
Yeah, but you're still talking to multiple amounts of people who could be talking back to you. But I get it. It's just rumoring, and rumoring is what people like to do. QB, it's the way to pass the time, I guess.
Yeah. Josh from Mississippi says here on Titan MR text line, if Baker Mayfield can lead the Rams to a last-minute drive and win after only 2 days on the team, I think Jack Miller can surprise the college football world with a nice win over Oregon State. I think this young team will come out to prove the haters wrong. Y'all's thoughts? I think Jack's going to play well. I don't know if we want him to play well. I don't know if that causes problems on our current team and future players coming in. But again, if Jack plays well,
right,
there may be other teams that want him.
Well, that's true. But look, this is a good test. This is not a scrub they're playing in this bowl game. In fact, this team is favored to win over Florida. So listen, let's see, it'll be in the Allegiant Stadium where the Raiders play, in the Dome. It'll be a wonderful experience. I know you're excited, QB. Do you get to go out for a week? Do you only get to go out for a couple of days? What's the itinerary?
I'll be out there, I think, 3 or 4 days. But
yeah, it's fun.
the problem is the game's at like 11 a.m. that time.
Yeah,
So it'll be an early wake-up call.
that's right. That don't
Yeah.
bother you though. Then you get out of there and come home. All of this before Christmas. So in fact, it's coming up. So one of the first bowl games. Yeah.
Thomas says Leary and Slovis are the names I've seen Florida has interest in at QB in the portal, and those are false. Also Hartman, but he hasn't hit the portal. That is a fact. They would like to have him, but I don't see it happening either.
What's with Devin Leary? They don't want Devin Leary.
I don't know if they don't want him. They have their eyes on some other guys. Let's just leave it at that.
Hey, what about that basketball team that rolled in here 2 nights ago? You realize that team has not lost the game, obviously, and has won every game by double digits. Every one of them. They're 10-0.
As Jimmy Dykes said, it's a Final Four team.
It's absolutely, with the way they play defense, man, they lock you down. They're very good, and that's not an easy trip to just go 3 hours by plane down to Florida and blow someone out by 20-something points. It takes the attention span that you got to have a team that's dialed in. They are, man. UConn's good. UConn is really good, and I like Hurley too. I think he knows what he's doing.
Are you in the market to buy or sell your home? Darling Weavy, a realtor, Caldwell Banker, M.M. Parish provide you fast, friendly, reliable service. Call her today at 352-562-1411 to help your dreams come true. Speaking with JC on the Titan Hotline, we'll have Blake Alderman for 24/7 Sports. Talk a little recruiting. These folks like recruiting. Andy says the Gators are ranked number 50, I guess, in whatever poll that is, and we get number 14 Oregon State. He thinks it's odd. But it's all based on the where you fall in line due to your records with your where the bowls are connected to, I believe. We didn't have a good enough record to play in the state of Florida or play in the Music City Bowl. We had to take one of the bottom tier bowls, which we're the first SEC team to play in this game. So I think it's pretty good. I think it's a great trip for our kids because I do too. Majority of our kids have been to Orlando multiple times. They've been to Tampa. They've been to Jacksonville.
I agree.
Need to go somewhere else.
It's going to be a good experience for them to see some things, enjoy their time away from the football, and then get back and try to beat a good team. Oregon State is the team that beat Oregon, a team that I think won 9 games this year. They're a legit team. So this will be a nice test for Florida's whoever's playing. And obviously, I think this Jack Miller is a big question mark.
Mark says Shane apparently Lagway's a dual sport recruit. Is that a concern?
Yeah,
have you ever played with him? He's a baseball guy.
Yeah.
I'll ask Blake Alderman, but I'm pretty sure he is going football only and not going to play sports. Play sports, play baseball.
Right.
Here's though, you think about it, I don't know how good he is in baseball, but when you recruit a kid like that
in Texas,
there's always the concern that he could sign out of high school if a baseball team throws some money at him. So
but for that to happen, he'd have to play baseball, and I don't think a baseball team's going to do that. But listen, he's playing in Texas. It's a highly populated area. He's competing against other very good athletes. I think it's a great pickup for Florida if the guy follows through with his commitment. It's still a ways off, though, folks. Just like this Rashada kid. Thought he was going to go to Miami. Next thing you know, boom, he's disappeared. And so even though he pulled the hat out and did this and did that, it's like QB says, it's over a year away still. So
Wes says, Shane, we need the QB from Tulane. Go Gators. Well, that's a guy they want.
I don't disagree with that at all, man. Tulane's going to Cotton Bowl, bro. First major bowl game for them since the beginning of World War II. All right, and I bring that up because we just finished commemorating Pearl Harbor Day. I hope folks remembered that on December the 7th. And so that's a long time, 1940. Long time.
It is. Text here on the Titan Mar text on Baker Mayfield was the #1 overall pick a few years back.
Yeah.
who in the world is comparing Jack Miller to him? Laugh out loud. Well, here's the deal.
They won the
Like I
Heisman
said,
too, by the way.
did anybody, and I'm not saying it's going to happen, but
Yeah.
boy, would it cause some people ruffling their feathers if Jack Miller, his name is Jack James Miller III, by the way, JC. I figured you would like that.
I do like that.
If he threw for a bunch of yards, looked really good.
Yes.
Hey, some dude named Joe Burrow transferred from LSU. I mean, to LSU from Ohio State. So
yeah, he did. Yeah, it changed his life, changed everybody's lives, it changed multiple lives when that happened. So it's all possible. But it's also possible that Jack Miller pull a Mac Jones and sit around, wait his turn, get it, and then really turn up when he got his turn. So maybe he sticks if he has a good day and likes to play for Billy Napier and, gets a feel of what it's like to be a Gator on the field. I mean, Mac Jones did that. It took him 2.5 years, but he waited. So.
Again, nothing I can do about it. Did you hear what I said that Jack Miller's a freshman?
Yeah, I mean, he can wait around. Yeah.
Yeah, well, if he did, yeah. Anyway, all right, we got a text here on the Titan Mar text line before we get to our Peachland Dental picks. It comes from Roger in Nashville. Roger says, JC, we know you are always very opinionated. Could you give us your thoughts on the Brittney Griner release?
Well, good for her. It's a shame, though, that the story also involves a Marine that's still staying there that they did not deal for. And the guy that came back to Russia that we gave up is a known arms dealer that sells weapons to people who kill Americans. So I don't know if you consider that a fair trade. Do you? I don't know.
Sounds like a terrible trade.
It's a terrible trade. Okay, I'm just being rhetorical with that. But the idea was to get this Griner back, and they did it. But, man, the cost was heavy. I don't think people truly understand the severity of what the crimes were that this Russian committed. And I really don't think they understand that. And I think that there's a Marine that we can't forget about who's been there since 2018. Paul Whelan is still rotting somewhere in Russia, and God only knows what's happened to him. But that wasn't included in the deal. So it sounds like the Russians were dictating the terms to the American president or whatever he is. And that is why we have what we have. But as far as Griner's concerned, I know it's a wonderful day, and it's been a rough year for her. And I hope that, she's going to need some counseling. She's going to need some time to, reflect on what's happened. It's been an awful experience. So at least she's back, but there are other people involved here too.
Yeah, it was a bad trade. Joseph says on Facebook Live, man, y'all are becoming as dramatic as Buddy Martin with these fairy tale comparisons. First, it was comparing Billy's first year to Kirby and Saban's, which I've never done. And now it's comparing our backup QB to Joe Burrow. All I said, Joseph, was, did you know anything about Joe Burrow until he went to LSU? And the answer is no. And Joe Burrow came out of nowhere. He came from Ohio State.
Let's also remember one more thing about Joe Burrow.
Those are facts.
Okay, here's another fact. In his first year as LSU quarterback,
he wasn't very good.
He was awful. In fact, he lost most of the games he played in. And Alabama blew him out in Baton Rouge. He was terrible, but he stayed with it. They changed coaching staffs, and look at what happened. He changed his life. He changed LSU's life.
My point is, the point to the whole story, Joseph, is we don't know how how Jack James Miller is going to play.
We don't know.
I'm relating right to him. Did anybody know how I was going to play when we started Oklahoma State game?
I sat there in the
story.
I sat there in the newsroom when you guys had the orange and blue game up in Jacksonville, and you did your thing, and Spurrier gave you the game ball, whatever, MVP. I looked around and everybody said, has anybody heard of who Shane Matthews is? Honest to God, nobody knew.
So
these are good
Joseph, I love Joseph on our program, but he's a big Anthony guy, and I get it. It's all good. It's all good. John says people compared that trade for Griner to the Broncos trade for Russell Wilson.
Well, it's not worked out. Well, it's working out for Brittney Griner. It's not working out for Paul Whelan. And it's
terrible.
It's certainly not working out for the unknown victims of the killer that we gave up, okay? Who was serving a 30-year term and got out in 10 because we had to do this trade. Whatever, you know.
Oh, yeah. Okay. All right. Enough of that. Everybody's chiming in on it now. JC, let's get to our Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's #1 choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte surrounding areas. Visit them at peachlanddental.com. We're going to pick the Army-Navy game, and then we're going to pick NFL since there's no other college football this week.
QB,
when does the NFL start playing their Saturday games? Next week?
Yeah, it's got to be coming up with a holiday. Yeah, it's absolutely. And, you know, December is a huge month. This is where we find out the positioning for the playoffs and the seeds of each conference. I love the NFL playoffs, but with the extra game, we're going to the second week of January. And by the way, the reason why we don't have the Sugar Bowl and the Rose Bowl and the Citrus Bowl, whatever bowl on New Year's Day is because of the NFL scheduling. Because New Year's Day is falling on a Sunday, and that's the NFL schedule. There you go.
All right, well, let's go with the picks here.
Starting off with the Ravens getting 2.5 at Pittsburgh. Kenny Pickett's picking it up, dude. And the Ravens are struggling. Lamar's status is kind of iffy. I think I'm going to take the home team and lay the 2.5 with the Steelers. I like Kenny Pickett.
The Steelers are playing good football, and Pickett is playing very well. So I will take the Steelers. Wait, by the way, do you have the records written down? Because I can't find the sheet.
Yeah.
I can't find the sheet with the records.
Steelers are 5. Our records.
Oh, no, hang on. I think I got it right here.
I have our records. I'm 88-72, and you're 76-84.
Okay, 76 and 84, and you're 88 and what?
72. I went 8-2 last week, dude.
So we both have Pittsburgh. Okay, next.
I was hot last week. All right, next is the very lucky Minnesota Vikings actually getting points on the road to the upstart 5-7 Detroit Lions. So here you go in the NFL, 10-2 team getting points at a 5-7 team. That is NFL written all over. Give me Detroit. Okay.
I love Detroit. Hang on a second. Rick says, did JC just spit into his pool?
I spit into a plant. Thank you, Rick, for noticing.
and then who is this? Ted says, JC, it looks like the whiskey has not got rid of your cough.
I know. I got to get on.
You got to go pound some whiskey, dude.
It's an infection. I've got an antibiotic. It sucks. I hate medicine, but it's there to help you.
And Bill asked, was I a 4-star coming out of Pasco? They didn't have stars back in those days. I was 6'2", 165 pounds when I signed my scholarship. So that tells you that. But I was a multi-sport athlete. You took the Lions or the Vikings?
I took Detroit at home for sure.
Me too.
Here's Jacksonville getting 3.5 at Tennessee. I'm going to take Tennessee only because they're at home. Jacksonville has gone back to their old tricks of being bad with the football. I don't know what Trevor Lawrence's status is either. He got banged up bad last week. Give me Tennessee.
Yeah, but he played the rest of the game. He's playing. Okay. I'll take the Titans at home.
All right, Tennessee. Eagles laying 7 at New York. That's too many. I'm taking the Giants at home in the NFL +7.
Well, gosh, we're taking all the same teams.
We'll take the Eagles. You love Jalen Hurts. He's your guy.
I love the Eagles, but like you said, it's the NFL on the road, boy.
Yeah, it's tough. Now, here's a good one. The Jets, 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 at your beloved Bills, catching 10 points. Now, the Bills can beat this team by 40, or they could lose to this team. I'm taking the 10 points. You want Buffalo?
I'm taking my Buffalo Bills.
You love your Bills, baby. Your beloved Buffalo Bills, who are
still favored to win the Super Bowl, by the way.
Yeah, well, they're the 1 seed in the AFC, no doubt. I can't believe Rick noticed that I spit in my flower pot. Cleveland +5.5 at Cincinnati. I think the Bengals are just right on. Right, I think the Bengals are one of the hottest teams in the NFL. I know it's a lot, but they're at home. I think Cleveland is mistake prone. I'm going to lay the 5.5. Bengals.
Who's at home?
Cincinnati.
Oh, that's a fishy line.
5.5. You going to take Cleveland?
No. But it doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense to me.
Dallas is laying 17 at home to Houston. Jeez, that's a lot too. But Houston's brutal. I'm taking Dallas 38-10.
I'm going to take Houston. How many they get?
Yeah, 17. You got a lot.
They're going back to Davis Mills, so
yeah, that's probably good. Kansas City 9.5 at Denver. Denver is an absolute train wreck, dumpster fire, any adjective you want to use. And the Chiefs are coming off a loss. They're pissed. They win this game by 2 touchdowns minimum.
Where's this game being played?
It's in Denver, so weather could be an issue, but I'm
going to take the Broncos defense to keep it close. They're getting how many?
That is a good unit on their team. Their defense is tremendous, but it's 9.5.
You got to tell me the line so I could write them down.
I thought I said that. Sorry. Okay, KC 9.5. Here's a game that you would say is fishy. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who can't get a first down, are only getting 3.5 points at San Francisco, but we're baking this off of Brock Purdy being the quarterback, which I don't think hurts San Francisco that much. So I'm taking the 49ers. I want the Bucs.
49ers are going to destroy.
Well,
I think the Bucs are so bad.
They are terrible on offense, and it all starts at the top. And I know that Todd Bowles is a defensive guy, but he's in charge, and they can't move the ball. They're terrible.
Well, they're slow. They're old and slow is what they are.
And take the under. The total's 37.5. Bet under, unless the 49ers get that themselves. Carolina +4 at Seattle. I'll take Seattle. Carolina's played well, though. Coming off a bye week.
That makes no sense either.
They're coming off a bye week, the Panthers.
Okay. But I'm going to take Carolina with Sam Darnold.
Yeah, Sam's there. And then we end up with the last game, Sunday Night Football in SoFi, where the Rams won last night. This time it's the Chargers. On Sunday, my son Sam will be at that game as well. And the Dolphins are laying 3 points to the Chargers. And I think the Dolphins will turn it around and win by 6. So I'm taking the Dolphins.
I'll take the home team in that. I'll take the Chargers.
Chargers are good. They're good. They're
what about Army Navy? We got to do Army Navy.
Army Navy. Well, so my family's all Army people, and my cousin was a retired 3-star general, 2-star general. So I'm going to take Army.
What is the line?
Getting 2.5.
So Navy's favored. Well,
Yes,
I'll
they
take
are.
the midshipmen just for the hell of it.
Well, sure.
Where are they playing this year?
This is in Philadelphia at Lincoln Financial. So, that's the traditional home of this game that I believe where they should play all the time. But they have moved it to the Meadowlands. They moved it down to the Baltimore area as well. But Army Navy is where college football exists, free of NIL, free of transfer portal, free of big deals, free of bullshit. It's where players play football because they want to win a game. So Army Navy, it's every year at this time on this weekend. It's the only game on Saturday. Everybody will watch it if they have an interest. And I've been to that game. I've worn Navy gear because my friend who took me there was a midshipman. He took me. He went to Navy, so I had to root for Navy. But they don't hate each other. You know what they do? They congregate, and it's like a big reunion, and they get to see old friends. They tailgate out in the parking lot at Lincoln Financial Field, and then when they go into the stadium, they root for their team, and then they go home friends. That's how it works, and I think it's one of the greatest things we do in college football is play that game.
Yeah, I love that game. Before we let you go, got a couple texts to get to here on Titan More text line. Matt from Mariana says, QB, remember Vegas is not only the Strip. I know. The natural beauty of the desert is magnificent. I don't know if you enjoy a hike, but Red Rock Canyon and the Valley of the Fire are both close by and have some magnificent short hikes. Yeah. The problem is it's cold out there. Yeah. It's only like a high of 40 while we're out there.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't feel like taking a bunch of clothes to be outside. So.
And you don't feel like hiking, just say it.
I don't want to hike either. All right, one last text. Shane, do you think Leftwich is a bad OC? No, I do not. The Bucs only move the ball well in 2-minute situation when Brady's going no hold on calling the plays. Well, he's not necessarily calling the plays. It's still going through his ear, his speaker thing from Leftwich. Teams just play different defensively when you go hurry up. I've always been curious why teams don't do more hurry up, because it kind of puts a bind on the defense. So I don't know. I just think the Bucs are old and slow. When I watch them, they look slow.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I can't disagree with that. That it's hard to watch. How they won the other night was ridiculous, frankly. They did the same thing to my Rams, pulling it out in the very end. Had no business winning, but they're 6-6 QB, and they're going to win their division and have a home game in all likelihood against the Dallas Cowboys, if you can believe that. That's how the NFL works. And it's
who's closest to them? I know they're 6-6, but has anybody got a chance to catch them?
Just the Falcons at 5-8, and I think the Saints are 4 and something, and Carolina.
Well, the Falcons are making a quarterback change. They're going to the Desmond Ritter kid.
Yeah, I don't know if that's really their problem. They got so many bad. It's just this division is terrible. It's just like the AFC South. It's just not that good, and I don't know. I think Tampa's the beneficiary of a bad division because otherwise they would not be a playoff team, and they certainly would not be winning any divisions. But this is how it works. And, you take 7 teams now, and the two worst wild card teams. Well, no, I don't know how it works. You know what? I do, but I don't want to waste time on the podcast and try to explain it. But there's 7 teams now that go to the playoffs, and the 4 division winners get the home game, regardless of what their record is. It doesn't matter. One of the wild card teams, no, all the wild card teams have to travel. So that's how that works. Yeah, that's how it works. I know how it works. There's only one team that gets the week off. Now, 2 through 7 play. And that's the difference. Instead of 2 teams getting a week off, only the top seed in each conference gets the week off. They have 7 teams that make the playoffs. Therefore, 6 play on opening playoff weekend in the NFL, and that's in January. So I don't know if that's good or bad, but 17 games and 7 playoff teams, and only 1 team gets a bye now. I think that's right.
Okay. All right. We got to get to Blake Alderman and talk a little recruiting. JC, go spit in your pool, my man. That's JC.
I'll see you later.
Join us on the Titan More Hotline. We'll take a quick timeout. We'll come back. We'll be joined by Blake Alderman for 24/7 Sports. Time to pay the bills, and we appreciate all these great sponsors. Our premium sponsors: Crime Prevention Security, Titan MRI, Meldon Law, Peachland Dental, Comfort Temp, QC Kinetics, Campus USA Credit Union, Dave & Buster's. Our Gridiron sponsors are Auto ER, UF Bookstores, Celebration Point Town Center, Chris Doring Mortgage, Silverback Concrete, Ruse Odra, Doreen Weeby Realtor. Our touchdown sponsors: Adams Ribs, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Gator Bait Media, Okido, Style Cuts, Ironwood Golf Course, Big Mills, MB Listing, McDonald's Gainesville, 84 Lumber, Tropical Smoothie, Aver & Smith, Dowling Signs, Baker Sporting Goods, Silver Cube. Awesome.
Had to get the crust out.
How long we got, Jason? Welcome back to the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Ruse Ogre State Farm Office is a team of dedicated insurance professionals ready to help life go right with the right insurance options for you and your family. Visitogreinsurance.com. Give them a call at 352-240-1779. Going to head back to the Titan MR hotline, and we're joined by Blake Alderman for 24/7 Sports, covers the Gators. Good morning, Blake. How are you, buddy?
I'm good. How about you guys?
All good. Hey, all right, let's jump right into it. Obviously, big news. I think it was on Wednesday with DJ Lagway committing to the Gators. He's at 2024, so he's still got another year of high school. So a lot of stuff can happen between now and then. Just your thoughts on getting him committed, and how good of a player is he?
I think it's big for Florida in the sense of, you're getting a big-time quarterback in back-to-back classes between Jaden Rashada in 2023 and now DJ Lagway in 2024. Infusing big-time talent like that at a position as important as quarterback is big on its own. Also, whenever you have a 5-star big-time name like that in your class, and as early as Florida's been able to, it certainly attracts other big-time players that want to play with him. So Florida's got that luxury to be able to sell to, skill players and offensive guys and whoever is on their wish list in 2024 that, come play with DJ Lagway. You see what we're building here. You can really kind of pitch that. But on top of all that, he fits the mold of what Florida really wanted to do with a guy like Anthony Richardson this past season. Lagway is a guy that from his sophomore year to his junior year really improved his passing completion rate. I think this year as a junior, he was somewhere around like the mid 60s, coming from, I think, 50 or below 50 as a sophomore. So this is a guy that went from being an athlete that plays quarterback to a quarterback that is also an athlete. So, I think he's got a lot of upside, and, he's probably one of the higher ceiling type of quarterbacks for that 2024 class. They can continue to build off of him, with what he can learn on the field, get developed under Billy Napier. He really likes what he's, seen from Anthony Richardson and his scheme fit that he feels he can fit into the offense. So, was a really big get for Florida, especially as early as it is in the 2024 cycle.
Blake, who's better, Rashada or Lagway?
I think that it's hard to say right now because Lagway is a junior and Rashada is a senior. I think that Lagway, it depends on what you look for. I think that Lagway has a better arm. I think he's more accurate. You see some of the zip that Rashada has on those passes. So I would say that Rashada is probably the better passer right now. And Lagway probably is the better athlete, a guy that, probably has more big play ability. So it kind of depends on what you want. I would probably say Rashada if it was me right now, just saying off of what he can do for you in the passing game, because he's, it's not like he's a statue back there either. So he really also fits the mold there too. But, one of those guys has had a senior year under his belt where he also improved his completion percentage. So we'll see how Lagway continues to develop through high school. But, I guess give me the guy that is the better passer and give me the guy that's going to sign sooner. So I'd go with Rashada.
Yeah, Greg says accuracy, please. I agree with that. We need accuracy. Hey, and nowadays the world is crazy, and it's just amazing to me with these two highly regarded, with a lot of stars, back-to-back years. Okay, let's be honest here. They ain't going to sit on the bench. How do you see this thing possibly playing out? Because I just think it's interesting that they got the highly regarded Rashada for 2023. And then right after him, they get a 2024 kid. And kids don't like to wait their turn anymore. How do you see it playing out?
We'll see when that bridge is crossed. Rashada obviously is going to have the head start being there in the spring and, being a class all the way ahead of him. So I think that it's hard for me to say because I say that because, again, we'll see how things play out. Rashada, again, hasn't taken a college snap either. So, let's say he goes in there and, maybe doesn't develop the way you think he does, or he comes out, he's great. So, all those things would be good for Florida. But I think in general, when you look at the quarterback room and you see what Florida's got now, obviously Jalen Kitna's not with the program. Anthony Richardson's gone to is declared for the NFL draft. You're left with Max Brown, a true freshman that has had zero, experience as far as game and, those game type situations. Jack Miller really even doesn't have a lot of game experience either for a guy that's, played at Ohio State, now played at Florida. That will change this week or this coming up weekend, next weekend, whenever he plays in the Las Vegas Bowl. But I think in general, Florida's quarterback room, regardless of, there's one ball and it's always, one of those situations where quarterback is, if you don't get the playing time, they're on the move. So I think the fact that the quarterback position can be really volatile with guys transferring in and out, that, you have to, be prepared for the worst at all times by continuing to get those big time guys. Just to, if you don't want to put yourself in a situation where, kind of like where Florida's at this year, where you would think they go into the portal for a quarterback so they can have a guy to kind of bridge the gap between Anthony Richardson and these future guys they have coming in. So I think in general, Florida's really got a pitch and a luxury of having maybe a weaker quarterback room to kind of have these guys, know that they're going to get a fair shot and they're going to compete. So, I think that Rashada is one that, is going to get in there and he's going to get, worked on this spring when he gets in there and enrolls. But, I don't think Lagway is one of those guys that's really going to, be sour if, down the road he doesn't get that type of playing time. He seems like a guy that's, really about the team and really buying in. And, that's not to say he's not going to come in and try to work and prepare as a starter and, try to, really give Rashada a run for his money as far as playing time. But, we'll see how those things play out. But I think in general, like I said, the quarterback position, you can have a guy on your roster 1 minute, especially with NIL and, how quickly the transfer portal is, fills up with names that, you can't sit there and, kind of take a year off with quarterbacks because you never know which guy's going to be there 1 year and which guy's not going to be there. So, the more talented arms in a room you can get, the better.
True. Titan Mar text line. Chris says, Blake, any info on the package deal duo where the coaches were an in-home visit with, I don't know how to pronounce his name, Qua Rosa and James Smith?
Quay Rousseau and James Smith. They're the 5-star teammates out of Alabama. Billy Napier, almost the entire defensive staff were in there on Monday to do the in-home visit with those guys. They're a package deal, like you said. I think that, they've taken a lot of their visits together. They're definitely planning on attending the same school. I always have a little bit of skepticism with package deals. I've just seen so many that were dead set that didn't play out. But I do think that these guys genuinely are trying to, be a package deal and really mean when they say that, because again, they take a lot of these visits together. They continually said that they're going to play the same school, but they'll be at an official visit to Alabama this coming weekend. Auburn, since they've had a head coaching change, they've already used their official, but since there is a head coaching change, they can take another one. We'll see if they pop up there. I think it's going to be tough for Florida to pluck those guys out of the state of Alabama, and that won't be from lack of effort. Mike Peterson, Sean Spencer, Billy Napier, those guys have really recruited those guys hard, and they're really pitching early playing time because, let's be honest, between the edge rusher position and that interior defensive line position, these two guys probably would have started yesterday for Florida. They're that talented. They're coming in and would really be able to shake up that roster and that position room. But I think it's going to be tough for Florida to get those guys out of the state of Alabama. If I had to pick right now where I think they go, I think I'd probably lean Alabama for them. They're getting the official visit this weekend. They visited Tuscaloosa double-digit times over the course of their recruitment. So I think it's going to be tough, but, we'll see if there's anything that shakes out here in the next couple of weeks.
Mark asked on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mental Law, Blake, how likely are we to get Okunlola next week? I butchered his name too, I'm sure.
No, you're pretty close. Samson Okunlola. He's a 5-star offensive tackle from over there in Massachusetts. He took an unofficial visit for 3 days, I think it was, near the end of November. Got his parents to come in there and visit with him. That was the first visit he had taken since the new staff. He actually visited twice when Mullen was the head coach at Florida. So he'll be in this coming weekend for an official visit. I think this recruitment has, gotten pretty close between Florida and Miami. He's going to make his decision on December 15th. I think at 4:00 was the time that he set his decision time for. We'll see how the official visit goes this weekend because, Miami has been kind of seen as the perceived leader since the summer. He took the official visit there in June. He also came back again for an unofficial visit to Miami when they played Florida State. This is a recruitment that is big on NIL. So I think that, Miami has had that in their back pocket, throughout this cycle. We've seen the NIL battles that they've, been able to win and things they've been able to do there. So I think that that's something that is, he's got a brand actually called Pancake Huncho that he is really trying to promote for himself. And so that's something where NIL comes into a factor for him. But, both of these schools really can pitch, early playing time, offensive coaches. So I think this recruitment, if you would ask me, I don't know, a couple weeks ago, a couple months ago, I would have thought that, it was pretty heavy. I don't like the word done deal in recruiting because it's crazy and you never know what happens. But, I would have been very shocked had Miami not landed him. And I'm not counting Miami out yet because they are, a big factor in this recruitment. They've been a big factor in this recruitment. But Florida has made this one interesting as we hit the last couple of days before he makes that decision. I think a lot of this will really be able to gauge better after the official visit.
Hey, Chris Doring Mortgage. They do mortgage lending right, helping home buyers throughout Gainesville and North Central Florida. Call Chris Doring Mortgage today at 352-244-0840. A few more minutes with Blake Alderman from 24/7 Sports. You can follow Blake on Twitter at Blake_Alderman. Andy says, Blake, is there any of the 30 or so players that are leaving the Florida program concerning to you?
There's been so many of them that I, really have kind of forgot some. Not really. There really hasn't been a name that, kind of floored me. I would think that, if I had to pick one, maybe a guy like Donovan McMillan, and I say that because you've seen the safety room really have a big max exodus of guys going in there. And that was a guy that, coming out of high school, I thought was a pretty good player. You haven't really seen him get the big time snaps at Florida. So, it's kind of hard to gauge there. Overall, I would say no, that there wasn't really anyone that's been concerning to me. I think a lot of those guys, probably weren't going to be able to make any major contributions next year. They were some guys that, maybe a couple more years they'd get some time there. But, I think that a lot of these guys that have entered the portal have been pretty expected for the most part. You've heard Billy Napier, when speaking with media, say that, he had expected this, and, just as far as, guys being on the move after the season. And it's pretty common whenever you have a new coaching staff to see guys leave, if not, right before the start of that first season or right after the first season. So, I haven't really seen anybody that's been like, man, that's a big loss right there for Florida. So I would say no, but I think the bigger thing for me is that they're going to need to be active in the portal going forward for the future of the program, just because you're seeing so many of these bodies leave. And you're really it forces your hand to flip that roster, and you can do that easily through the portal and through recruiting. And so I think that's probably the bigger thing to me, is just making sure that, you replace those guys through the portal and you make sure that you keep your roster balance there.
Yeah, no doubt. We've had a bunch of people text on the Titan Mart text line about where do you think this class will end up? Fans love to see the recruiting class numbers. Where do you think this class ends up?
Right now, after some changes with the 24/7 Sports composite rankings, which takes all of the, the on-threes, the rivals, the ESPNs, the 24/7s, and they average that together, and that makes, a score. So another company had, some rankings changes. So Florida moved from 8 to 11. So right now, Florida is ranked at 11. I think they have a chance to move back up to like the 8-7 range. There's some pretty tight battles going on, so it's kind of hard for me to sit there and say something for sure, because again, with these battles going down the stretch going on, NIL makes recruiting be able to change on a dime. I think that probably their highest ceiling they could get, and that's just if everything goes perfect for them, is top 5. Right there, maybe at 5. I think 8 is probably more likely where I see things being at. So I think anywhere between 5 and 8 is probably where I would go right now.
This is an interesting question from Greg, and I'll take a stab at it as well. He says, what percentage of the players in the portal from Florida do you think were told by Billy Napier to leave?
Ooh,
I don't think he didn't sit down and say, we want you to leave. They have a way of kind of saying, we got players we're eyeing or players coming in that we think are going to play. I think it's a high percent. I think it's about 90%, I would say.
Yeah, I would say too. I was thinking somewhere around 85, somewhere around there too. So I'm pretty much in the same kind of audience as you there. I don't think that any of these guys came in, and had their exit meetings with coach, and they said like, hey buddy, you got to get out of here, man. Like, we need that scholarship. But I do think that some of these guys probably saw the writing on the wall as far as the playing time they got. And I'm sure when they sat down with coach and, maybe had the questions of, what's the future hold for me? And, I'm sure that it was, hey man, like if you want some more playing time, we're not quite sure that that's something here. Or, it could be as simple as them saying, like you're going to really have to work for the spot, not being promised a spot. It's so easy to go in the portal now. And, enter the portal. It doesn't mean you have to leave. It means you could field offers and see what other schools have to say. And, so I think a lot of these guys will be able to gauge and, have a spot where they can get some more playing time. So, I think a lot of these guys were probably better off leaving the team, compared to, being there and just kind of being, roster fodder and just kind of sitting there taking up a spot. So I would say the number's high too. I'd go around 85% of those guys probably were ones that, the staff was okay with seeing move on.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. Blake, we appreciate your time. Let everybody know how they can, we talked about following you on Twitter, but how they can check out everything that you do.
Yeah, Swamp 24/7. It's Florida's 24/7 sports site. We're actually running a 50% off promotion right now, so save you some money if you want to sign up and check things out. It's a busy time, between the bowl game coming up, guys going in and out of the portal, Florida recruiting guys in the portal, big recruiting weekend this weekend coming up. They've got 11 official visitors coming to town. It's actually their last official visitor weekend they're going to be able to have before the early signing period, because that Las Vegas Bowl is on the December 17th, which is the last weekend before signing day. So this weekend is, kind of seen where Florida's had to really compact everything into one weekend. If you followed around on social media, Billy Napier's been all over the country fitting in these in-home visits so that, he can be able to balance those between practice next week. He's still got some left. So recruiting is a busy time right now. I'm looking for some way to clone myself so I don't have to be so busy all the time. So I'm looking forward to seeing how things shake out there on the recruiting trail for these guys.
Yeah, real quick, last thing for you. I've had a ton of people ask me this, and I should know this answer. But in the past, you could only sign 25 guys was the most you could sign out of high school. Didn't they change the rules on that, and you could sign as many as you want? Can you give us a brief synopsis of that?
Sure. So normally, like you said, 25 is the number you'd look at. There is some gray areas to there. It's sort of called counting back on spots, to where you've seen some of these schools that have signed more than 25 guys. If you signed under 25 the year before, you can technically count back some of those spots. So there has been some gray areas there. But as far as, counters, Florida, any school in the country, they can go over 25 if they want to. It's kind of a free-for-all this year. So I always say, whenever people are like, Blake, how many guys do you think Florida's going to sign in this class? Like, the number of guys in the class, that number doesn't matter right now. Again, because initial counters and, all those things you can count back. The number to look at is the 85, scholarship limit number, because that's the number that Florida's going to want to not go over, and they want to make sure they get close to. So, but yes, to answer your question, there is no limit on guys you can take this class.
Yeah, good stuff as always, buddy. Appreciate your time. Happy holidays.
Thanks to you too.
That's Blake Alderman for 24/7 Sports. Join us on the Titan MR hotline. Celebration Point, where the Gators go to celebrate with premium brands like Nike, International Diamond Center, Dave & Buster's, Palmetto Moon, Escape Apology Advisors Rooftop, and the HBC's restaurant, Spurrier's Gridiron Grill, the #1 celebrity polished casual restaurant in America. We'll see you at Celebration Point, where the Gators go to celebrate. Scott, great point by Scott on Facebook Live. He says, if your boss called you into his office and started questioning your performance and future, wouldn't you start sending out your resume to other places? Same deal. Yeah, it's no different. And you got to remember, this coaching staff did not want the majority of these players. Let's get to this day in sports, brought to you by our good friends at Comfort Temp. Comfort is our business. Peace of mind is our promise. If you need your air conditioner tuned up or your heater, give them a call, 352-376-2366. This day in sports, in 1935, the first Heisman Trophy Award goes to Jay Berwanger of Chicago. He was a halfback. I pronounced his name probably wrong, but Heisman Trophy will be given out tomorrow night. I think Caleb Williams wins it. Joseph says, is that my view from my room at the Wynn? I don't know what hotel we're staying at. Actually, the team hotel is. I just get on the charter flight and then they take us where we're going. So I don't even know what hotel we were staying at out in Vegas. So Andy says, before we get out of here, Shane saw you drawing up some plays on Steve Russell's show. Will you have some input on play calls for the Guardians? Yeah, I mean, it's no different than any other coaching staff. You have an offensive coordinator. It's his system. And then everybody has the same plays. That's, Bill Belichick, Billy Napier, Nick Saban, Steve Spurrier, everybody has the same plays. It's just called something different for the most part, and knowing when to call it and things of that nature. So I will definitely give my thoughts on what I like and what I think we should run. But, when it all said and done, it comes down to the offensive coordinator and head coach. They make the final decisions. And then you got to do what's best for your quarterback. That's the biggest thing. You can only run what your quarterback can handle. And, I've had plays that I've loved as a coach, but if my quarterback didn't like them and wasn't confident in them, I couldn't call them. You're just beating your head against the wall. So anyway, I hope everybody has a great weekend. We'll come back, enjoy the Army-Navy game. It's something else, I'll tell you that. But we'll come back, wrap up, talk about what happened over the weekend, and get prepared for the Oregon State Beavers next week. Have a great weekend, folks. See you then.